My boyfriend made a PowerPoint to critique my cooking, now he's living off cereal. I suppose I should start by properly introducing myself. I'm Sarah, and this whole situation with my boyfriend James has turned into something I never expected when I first moved in with him 2 years ago. Looking back, there were probably signs I should have noticed, but you know how it is when you're in love, you tend to overlook the little things. When we first moved in together, the division of household duties seemed pretty natural. I took over the kitchen because I genuinely love cooking. It's always been my happy place, something I learned from my grandmother who used to let me help her make fresh pasta every Sunday. James, on the other hand, claimed he was completely hopeless in the kitchen. I can't even boil water without setting off the smoke alarm, he'd say with that boyish grin of his, and I'd laugh it off because, well, it was kind of endearing at first. I should mention that James works in corporate consulting, which probably explains his affinity for PowerPoint presentations. He's always talking about data-driven decisions and optimization strategies, but I never thought he'd apply that mindset to my cooking. I mean, who does that? The night everything happened started out so normally. I'd made our favorite meal, herb-crusted chicken with roasted garlic, mashed potatoes and sautéed green beans. It's a dish I've made at least a dozen times before, and James has always cleaned his plate and asked for seconds. But this time, something was different. I noticed him acting a bit odd during dinner. He kept glancing at me with this weird little smirk, the kind he usually gets when he thinks he's being clever. You know that look some people get when they're sitting on what they think is the world's greatest surprise? That was James's face. You know, he said, pushing his half-eaten chicken around his plate, I've been taking notes. I laughed because, honestly, what else do you do when your boyfriend says something like that during dinner? Taking notes on what? I asked, thinking he was making some kind of joke. No, really, he insisted, that smirk growing wider. I made a presentation. Now, I want to pause here and say that even at this moment, I thought he was kidding. I mean, who makes a presentation about their partner's cooking? But James was already getting up from the table, heading to his home office with purpose in his stride. When he came back with his laptop, I still thought it was going to be some cute thing, maybe a compilation of our favorite meals together or something sweet like that. He has his moments, you know? Sometimes he can be really thoughtful, like the time he made a digital photo album of our first year together. But no. This was not that. He connected his laptop to our TV, the one I'd helped him pick out during last year's Black Friday sale, by the way, and pulled up what I can only describe as the most passive-aggressive PowerPoint presentation in the history of PowerPoint presentations. The title slide popped up, Improving Our Home Dining Experience, a Data-Driven Approach to Culinary Excellence. Complete with clip art of a chef's hat and a graph trending upward. Because apparently, my cooking needed a business strategy. Okay, so hear me out, James said, clicking to the first slide with all the enthusiasm of a kid showing off his science project. I've been collecting data for the past 3 months. 3 months. 3 months. While I'd been cooking meals with love and care, thinking we were sharing these intimate moments together, he'd been secretly compiling a critique of every dish I'd ever made. Slide 1 was titled The Garlic Situation and featured a pie chart showing what he called optimal versus current garlic usage. According to his analysis, I was exceeding the recommended garlic levels by 47%. He'd even included a line graph showing the garlic trend over time, with little notes about specific dishes where he thought I'd gone particularly overboard. See these spikes? He said, pointing to the graph with a laser pointer he'd apparently purchased just for this occasion. These represent your garlic bread phases. And this one here? That was the week you made that roasted garlic soup. I sat there, fork suspended halfway to my mouth, as he clicked through to slide 2, Pasta Consistency, a study in al dente. He'd actually created a scale from 1 to 10, with little pasta icons rating the firmness of every pasta dish I'd made since August. There were footnotes. Footnotes. About pasta. Slide 3 was possibly the most condescending, more salt, less sass. He'd included actual quotes from me defending my seasoning choices, complete with timestamps and dates. Remember when you said if you want more salt, the shaker's right there? That was September 15th, and it really highlighted the need for proactive seasoning strategies. The slides kept coming. Slide 4 was temperature management. Hot food should be hot with thermal readings he'd apparently taken of various dishes. Slide 5 covered plating aesthetics, moving beyond the pilot on approach. Slide 6 was dedicated entirely to what he called my heavy-handed approach to black pepper. Slide 7 was a detailed analysis of my recipe repetition frequency with suggestions for menu diversity enhancement. He'd created a color-coded calendar showing every meal I'd made for the past 3 months, with little icons indicating his rating system. Red stars meant needs significant improvement, yellow stars were showing potential, and green stars were acceptable performance. There were a lot of red stars. And then came slide 8. Oh, slide 8. Just a giant photo of Gordon Ramsay facebombing with the caption "What he'd think." As if Gordon Ramsay would ever come to our third-floor apartment to judge my Tuesday night chicken. The final slide was titled Action Items and Next Steps with a bullet-pointed list of improvement opportunities. He'd even included a proposed timeline for implementing these changes, with quarterly goals and KPIs. KPIs. For my home cooking. Throughout the entire presentation, I didn't say a word. I just sat there, my dinner getting cold, watching my boyfriend of 2 years essentially turn my love of cooking into a corporate improvement project. When he finally finished, he turned to me with this expectant look on his face, like he was waiting for me to thank him for this incredible gift of insight. "So," he said, practically bouncing on his feet. "What do you think? I really put a lot of work into this." I looked at my plate, then at the TV screen still showing his next steps slide, then back at him. "I think," I said, keeping my voice as level as possible, "that if you have such detailed opinions about cooking, you should do it yourself." His face fell faster than a failed soufflé. "Wait, what? No, this was supposed to be helpful. I was just trying to optimize our dining experience." "Optimize?" I repeated, standing up from the table. "Optimize. James, I'm not one of your business projects. This isn't a quarterly review. I cook because I enjoy it, and because I thought you enjoyed my cooking too." "I do enjoy it," he protested, scrambling to minimize his presentation. This was just meant to be constructive feedback. You know, areas for improvement. "Well, here's some constructive feedback for you," I said, starting to clear the plates. "I'm going on strike. Starting now, the kitchen is all yours. Let's see your optimal garlic usage in action." He followed me to the kitchen, still trying to explain. "Come on, Sarah, it was just a joke. I mean, yes, the data is real, but I presented it in a funny way. Remember the Gordon Ramsay slide? That was funny, right? I loaded the dishwasher with perhaps more force than necessary. Hilarious. Almost as hilarious as you're going to find making your own meals from now on." That was 5 days ago. Since then, I haven't cooked a single thing. Not even toast. James has been surviving on a diet of cereal, microwave meals, and takeout. Last night, I watched him spend 20 minutes trying to figure out how to use the can opener for some soup, only to give up and order pizza instead. He's been alternating between sulking and trying to apologize. This morning, he left a sticky note on the coffee maker that said "I miss your cooking, even the garlic," with a sad face drawn on it. I threw it away and made coffee just for myself. My sister Kate thinks the whole thing is hilarious. When I told her about it over the phone, she laughed so hard she had to sit down. "Only James," she said, "would turn dinner into a PowerPoint presentation." She's right, it is exactly the kind of thing he would do. He once made a spreadsheet to determine the optimal temperature for our apartment based on our different thermal preferences. But this feels different. Yesterday, he tried to make pasta. I could hear him in the kitchen, muttering about al dente timing and consulting what I'm pretty sure was a YouTube video on how to boil water. The smoke alarm went off twice. The first time was when he forgot about the garlic bread in the oven, ironic, given his complaints about my garlic usage. The second time, I'm still not sure what happened, but it involved a lot of cursing and the sound of something metal clattering to the floor. When I walked through the kitchen later, it looked like a crime scene. There was sauce splattered on the backsplash, a pile of somehow both burnt and undercooked pasta in the sink, and the remnants of what I think was supposed to be garlic bread but more closely resembled charcoal. This morning, he tried a different approach. I came out to find him making another PowerPoint presentation on his laptop at the kitchen table, surrounded by empty cereal boxes. "What are you doing?" I asked, already dreading the answer. Making a presentation about my cooking attempts, he said, not looking up from his screen. I'm calling it Why Sarah's Cooking is Actually Amazing, a data-driven apology. I've included pie charts showing the correlation between your cooking strike and my declining nutrition. There's also a bar graph comparing the cost of takeout versus your home cooking, and a scatter plot demonstrating the relationship between my happiness and your garlic usage. Turns out there's a positive correlation. I had to fight back a smile at that one. Is there a slide about the smoke alarm incidents? Slide 4, he admitted. Complete with audio recordings. I peeked over his shoulder at his laptop screen. Sure enough, there was a slide titled The Great Pasta Disaster of 2024, a case study in humility. He'd included photos of his failed attempts, each one labeled with increasingly self-deprecating captions. There's also a slide analyzing the nutritional content of cereal versus your cooking, he continued, scrolling through his presentation. Did you know I've eaten nothing but Frosted Flakes and takeout for 5 days? I made a graph showing my estimated vitamin deficiencies. It's not looking good. I couldn't help but notice that this presentation was significantly less polished than his critique of my cooking. The transitions were basic, the fonts mismatched, and there were definitely no footnotes. It looked like something he'd thrown together in a desperate attempt to make amends. Look, he said, finally turning to face me. I know I messed up. I got carried away with the whole data analysis thing, and I forgot that cooking isn't about optimization or performance metrics. It's about caring enough to make something for someone you love. And you do that every day, or at least you did before I ruined it with my stupid presentation. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. You spent 3 months secretly critiquing my cooking. In my defense, he said, I really did think it would be funny. You know how you always tease me about making spreadsheets for everything? I thought this would be like that, a joke about how I approach everything like a business problem. But I took it too far, and I'm sorry. I looked at his laptop screen, now showing a slide with a photo of us from our first date, at a restaurant, ironically. Does your presentation have any suggestions for how you're going to make this up to me? He brightened. Actually, yes. The final slide is my proposed resolution. I've outlined a 3-phase plan for redemption. Of course you have. Phase 1 is a formal apology, which I'm doing now. Phase 2 involves me taking cooking classes. I've already signed up for basics of cooking at the community center. And Phase 3. He clicked to the final slide, is me cooking you dinner once a week to show my appreciation. Though after yesterday's pasta incident, I might need to revise that timeline. I walked over to look at his laptop more closely. The final slide had a simple message, I love you and your cooking, excessive garlic and all. You're still not funny, I told him, but I could feel my resolve weakening. I know, he said. But I am hungry. Really hungry. And I miss your cooking. Even the black pepper. I sighed, looking around at our kitchen. It really was a disaster, a testament to what happens when someone who can't even boil water tries to feed himself. There were dirty dishes everywhere, multiple empty takeout containers, and what looked suspiciously like cereal stuck to the ceiling. I said slowly, and this is a big if I start cooking again, there will be no more presentations. No more data collection. No more analysis of my garlic usage trends. Deal, he said quickly. Though I did make one final graph showing the correlation between my happiness and your cooking, and it's a pretty strong positive relationship. I held up a hand. No. More. Graphs. Right. Sorry. No more graphs. He closed his laptop. So. Does this mean you might consider making dinner tonight? I'm not saying I'm desperate, but I had Pop-Tarts for dinner last night. Cold ones, because I was afraid to use the toaster after what happened with the bread. I looked at him for a long moment, then at the kitchen that had somehow survived his brief foray into cooking. Fine, I said finally. But I'm making pasta with extra garlic, and if you even think about taking notes, you'll be eating cereal for the rest of the year. His face lit up. I love you, he said, then added quickly, and your garlic usage. Which I will never question again. Good answer, I said, already mentally planning a meal with enough garlic to make a vampire move to another state. Now clean up this kitchen while I go to the store. And James? Yes. Delete both PowerPoint presentations. He nodded solemnly. Already done. Though I did save the Gordon Ramsay meme. It was a really good one. I rolled my eyes but couldn't help smiling as I grabbed my keys. As I headed out to the store, I could hear him humming while he cleaned up the kitchen, probably already looking forward to a meal that didn't come from a box or a delivery bag. And you know what? Maybe I'll even frame that Gordon Ramsay slide. After all, a little humor in the kitchen never hurt anyone, as long as it doesn't come with pie charts and statistical analysis. Just don't tell James the first said that. He might make a presentation about it.